Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. One of you actually asked me if I would be doing a makeup inventory video, and I thought that would be fun just to go through my collection and see just how much makeup I own. It's kind of eye-opening and alarming in some categories, and definitely I have favorites. I have some problem areas for sure when it comes to, well, I'll just say blush and eyeshadow. I seem to kind of favor the two of them above all else. Now, this is my first time ever doing a video like this, so I don't have any previous years to compare my numbers to, so this will be my first time, but maybe it's something that I can continue doing in the future just to keep comparing. There are some categories that I definitely want to cut down on. I'm on a no-buy for some categories. I mean, that has to be done for some of these categories. So if that sounds interesting, let's get started. Okay, I have my little book here where I have my numbers down, and I also have my computer up here. I do have my inventory all laid out, and I wrote down each individual product too while I'm here, but now I will be popping up the pictures on the screens. I will have timestamps for you below as well in case you're interested in just certain categories. I'm going to start with how I apply my makeup, and the first thing I have is eyeshadow primers. Now there are only two eyeshadow primers in my collection. I have the Milani one, and then I have the one from Danessa Myricks, which that one can be used on the eyes and the face. And this morning as I was doing my makeup, I actually did hit pan on the little Danessa Myricks blurring balm. That's not the full size, that is like a little deluxe sample size that I got from Sephora. I think I used some points to get it because I really wanted to try it out. I will say that if you're not new, then you'll know that the Milani one was like my ride or die for a very long time, but I don't know, during the hotter months it just kind of wasn't working as well for me anymore. It just kind of, I don't know. But now that it's cooled down, I find that my eyeshadows don't really crease over it as much as they did, but it's one that I think once I use it up, I would like to continue trying some other eyeshadow primers just to see if I can find my all-time favorite. Now, the Danessa Myricks one works perfectly fine as long as I'm using the very smallest amount, because if you use too much, it can be a little too greasy, at least on the eyes or on my eyelids anyway. But I did hit pan in it this morning, so I am very happy to see that, but I feel like I'll go through that one fairly easily since it is a little small sample size. That is one that right now I'm not looking to purchase anything else, but it is a category that once I finish one or the other, I would like to purchase something in its place, just so I can keep trying ones out and seeing which eyeshadow primer I really like. So on a no-buy right now for that category, but in the future I'd like to try something else. Alright, for face primers, I always start with my face primers next, and I have 9 face primers. This is a category that I am definitely on a no-buy for, because I have mentioned in previous videos, the only primers that I want in my collection are my e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, the one in the little pot, because I know they have the liquid one too, which is good, but I like the one in the pot, and my Say Glowy Super Gels. Now, I love the shade Star Glow the most. I know they have like 4 shades now, and they did recently bring back Warm Glow. Now, that might be something that I would love to purchase a mini in, because I don't believe I've ever tried the Warm Glow shade, and that might be a shade that I could use for like a, depending on how tinted it is, I might could just use that as like a standalone, like really light skin tint for a day where I just want a little bit of makeup. So that might be the only primer that I purchased, but the Say primer is one of my top favorites. That one and the e.l.f. one are the only ones I want in my collection. So this year, I want to get that number down. I don't want to finish this year out with 9 primers. I want to get as many of them done as I can. I'm hoping that I can do it. I don't know. If I use, at least, you know, I try to rotate my primers around in my everyday makeup drawers, so if I'm able to get through it, I'm hoping that I can. I really want to get those primers down. I don't want to add any other primers to my collection outside of the Poreless Putty Primer or the Say Glowy Super Gels. Okay, the next thing are eyeshadow sticks, and I have 8 of these. This is another category, no buy. We're on a no buy for the eyeshadow sticks. I don't wear them. And it's sad because I will say the ones that I have here in the picture, in the photograph that you're seeing, the Rare Beauty, I have like 4 from e.l.f. and then I have 3 from ColourPop. They're all very good. And they would make amazing eyeshadow bases. That's the way I really need to be using them. And I'm hoping that now that I have really sat down and counted out my makeup collection as a whole, I would really like to start using those maybe as some eyeshadow base. Maybe that would be a good way to get some good use out of those, because this is a category that I don't really favor. I don't wear them enough as it is, and I definitely want to get that number down. I'm on a no-buy for those, and that's not a category that I really should buy in the future as well, because I just know that I don't really reach for those. When it comes to eyeshadow, I much rather reach for a palette or maybe a single shade at most. I'm not really too into the eyeshadow sticks, so this is a category that I need to work down. I need to be on a no-buy and then try to use these up. Use these as base. Use them as eyeshadow base. Get rid of them. Do something with them. You know, don't just let them sit there. We got to do better with this one. Alright, the next one is my cream and liquid eyeshadows. Now, I have 3 here. This is another category in which I don't need to buy any more of these. At least not right now. I just feel like I don't use these a lot. I guess it's because I'm always reaching for eyeshadow palettes. I favor palettes over any other kind of form of eyeshadow, and I don't want these liquid eyeshadows to go to waste. And in the photograph you see I have one from Ilia and one from Merit. Those are clean beauty brands, and you know, with the no preservative kind of thing, they go bad a lot quicker than other brands. I need to be using them. That's another thing. I need to be using them as eyeshadow base or something like that, just so I can get some good use out of them. All 3 of these that you're seeing here are really good products, and the one shade that I have from Merit, that's in the shade Studio. That is a perfect one and done shade. If you are around my skin tone, it's perfect. And the same thing with the other 2 as well. The one from Ilia is in the shade Cork, and the one from About Face is Smell Before Rain. Both are absolutely beautiful shades, but I need to be using them as bases or something so I can get them out of my collection. So for liquid and cream eyeshadows, this is another category where definitely no buy. Don't buy any more of these. Use these 3. I need to do something with them for sure. The next category are like my eyeshadow singles, duos, and trios, and I have 27 in total. Now I will say, here is where I got kind of mixed up when I was taking pictures and stuff, because I have all my eyeshadow palettes mixed in and singles in one little, like, it's a dresser. It's actually a dresser, but I use it more like a vanity. They were all mixed up, so some things got photographed in wrong categories, but you are still seeing my entire collection in the photos. Just some things might be skipped around. But I have 27 of these, and mostly I have a lot of those ColourPop Super Shocks. Now, those could have technically, I guess, went into the cream category, but I don't know, just when I look at them, I think of them as powders, so I just put them in like the singles, duos, and trios here. These are ones that I need to get more use out of these. I've definitely been loving those kind of one and done type looks, or take a matte shade from an eyeshadow palette and then do a topper over it. I really love that. In fact, the look I wore yesterday, I did that. I had just a matte shade all over my lid, and then I took a single shadow and just topped it on the top, and it was very pretty, and that's the way I need to get this category down as well. This is kind of another thing. I have 27. I need to really work that down, especially because I still tend to reach for eyeshadow palettes more so, but I do like this category of makeup. I do like the single shadows. I like the idea of them, but honestly, with the amount of eyeshadow palettes that I have, I can go through my entire palettes and pull single shadows from a palette instead of buying these individual ones like that, because I'm sure that all of these that you're seeing in the picture, I could probably easily open one of the eyeshadow palettes that I have and find a shade exactly like it. So, you know, it's kind of like a pick your battle kind of thing, and I definitely favor eyeshadow palettes above all else. Now, eyeshadow palettes are next, and I have, just so I can fit them all in a photograph, I've kind of divided them out because I did just take pictures of these. I didn't go through my actual collection while I was talking and doing this because I felt like that video would be extremely long and it would be very time consuming. So I'm hoping that this way is fine the way I'm filming it, but in the future I could always do that and then just do a part 1 and part 2. But this video might be long too because I love to chat about makeup. I'm probably chatting too much about each of these categories instead of just kind of showing you, oh hey, here's my number, here's what I have, and then be done with it. But I like to chat. I love to chat. Especially with people who love makeup too, because I don't have that really in my everyday real life. Like, people around me, they're not really that into makeup. They wear it, but it's like I have one palette, one foundation, one blush, and that's amazing. That's amazing that people can be like that. I am not one of those people. which is evident with what I'm about to tell you as far as these numbers. Now, I'm going to go by categories with my eyeshadow palettes, and then at the end, I will give you the whole total. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the 4-pan eyeshadow palettes. I have 16 of these 4-pan palettes. I will say that while I was going through my collection and writing them all down on my little inventory thing here, if you see me keep looking to the side when I come back to the screen here with me, I have my computer sitting here and I have everything written out for me or typed out so I can kind of really see each individual item. I lost my train of thought. I was just staring at this and talking, and then I lost my train of thought. But I don't know what I was saying. But basically with these, the e.l.f. palettes, those little 4-pan little palettes from e.l.f. Cosmetics, the bite-size eyeshadow palettes, I believe is what they're called. I'm not sure if they're still called that. I have a lot of those. Oh, I know what I was going to say. While I was going through my collection and really typing all of these products out and writing down who I had, I also was looking at each individual one of them and seeing if there were some palettes that I could declutter. I did declutter a few. It wasn't worth filming because there were only like maybe 4, which is not great considering the amount I have. But I don't know. I don't want to force myself to declutter just for the sake of decluttering, but this is something that I really want to work through my eyeshadow palettes in maybe the next... I'm not saying I could do it in a year, but I need to start doing that, kind of like no pan left behind. But for the 4 pans, we have 16. The next thing I moved on to is the 5 and 6 pans. We have 19 of those. I found that me categorizing them by 4 pan, 5 pan, 6 pan, that really helped me be able to condense them down in the pictures that I'm showing you, because I could not take one big picture of all of these. I just wouldn't have the space to do so. So I like doing this better so I can kind of show you each individual thing, and then I'll give you the total number of eyeshadow palettes at the very end here. I have quite a few. I had more of the little Natasha Denona 5-pan palettes than I thought I did. I didn't realize I had that many. When it comes to her palettes, I tend to feel like her palettes can trap me. That's the best way I can put it. For some reason, I just want her palettes. I want the palettes. I guess it's because my favorite palette of all time is the I Need a Nude palette from her. So I guess that's why I just feel like anytime she releases a palette, for some reason in the back of my head I'm saying, oh, I want it. Now there have been some palettes in the past that I've skipped on. I didn't buy her Xenon palette. It was the one that was all like the blues and blacks and grays. I never bought that one. And I didn't buy the one that had all the greens in it either. So there are a few that I've skipped, but I don't know. When it comes to her palettes, I feel the need to buy. Okay, and then I have the 7, 8, and 9 pan palettes, and I have 14 of those, which I'll be showing right here. And I mean, I don't know, do you like large palettes or the smaller palettes better? I feel like I kind of go back and forth. On one hand, I like the idea of a smaller eyeshadow palette, but then I also really like the larger palettes because then I feel like with just one, you can create so many looks with just one palette. Like my last video where I was using a 42 pan palette and I created 7 looks. Alright, the next ones are my 10, 11, and 12 pan palettes. I just went and kind of like that just to kind of give me a little bit more variety. I have 27 of those, and honestly, I mean, I feel like a lot of my favorites are in like between the 10, well, I'll say more so like the 12 to 15. I have a lot of favorite palettes from those categories, kind of like the Makeup by Mario palettes, or Natasha Denona's are like the 15 pan, I think. So I feel like I favor kind of those mid-size palettes the most, more so than I do the small ones or even the larger ones. But I mean, I go back and forth, like I said. Alright, the 13, 14, and 15 pan palettes, I have 23 of them. Here's where I have like all of my Natasha Denona palettes and my beloved I Need a Nude. I have actually got pan in that palette, and that is one that I want to continue trying to hit pan on because I wanted to show that it's my favorite. I want to open that palette, show you on camera, and you to be able to tell, yeah, she loves that palette. I don't want it to just sound like I'm just saying that just so. It is my favorite palette in my entire collection. I do have pan on it, at least one shade. I'd like to continue hitting pan because it's a beautiful palette. It's one of the prettiest palettes I've ever seen. And it's just perfect for everything I'm looking for. I'm a neutral person. I love neutral shadows. I like to wear color here and there, but usually in a softer way. But the neutral palettes and all of these eyeshadow palettes you're seeing in these pictures, I'm just going to go ahead and say the majority of them are neutral. Do I need that many neutral palettes? Absolutely not. Do I want them? Yeah. Okay, the next thing are the 16, 17, and 18 pan palettes, and I have 14 of these. This is where I have a lot of my Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes, and I have decluttered some of her palettes in the past. I think maybe 2 of them, maybe. But the ones that you're seeing here in the picture, I love these. These are ones that I definitely want to keep. And some of them I hate that you can't purchase anymore. Like the Rose Quartz eyeshadow palette, the Mercury Retrograde. Those are really stunning palettes. And her new one, the Icy Nude palette that will come out the end of 2024. Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm sad that she's no longer going to have those large palettes anymore. I don't know if that means she's going to go just keep releasing like 9-pan palettes or if she's going to release eyeshadow at all. I'm not sure exactly what is going to come from that. But I did like these larger, I think these are 18-pan palettes from Huda Beauty. I thought they were always so beautiful. Some of my favorites for sure. Alright, the next category are the 20+ pan palettes, and I have 13 of these. And these are definitely, I feel like some people love these palettes and some people don't. I go back and forth. I really do enjoy the Beauty Bay palette. Now, I have not tried the smoky one yet as I'm filming this. That is going to be coming up soon. I'm hoping to do a bunch of looks with that palette, but it's probably going to take me a little while because it's such a big palette, but it will be coming soon. But see, that's a 42-pan palette, both the neutral one and the smoky one that I have, and I don't know, I really like the idea of a variety, and it's one of those things where more than likely there might be a shade or two in there that are similar, so if you are someone that hits pan a lot, then I feel like there's another shade in the palette that can quite easily take that one's place. So I think that is a pro when it comes to the larger palettes, but I mean, some of my favorites are in this category, like the ColourPop palette, those large palettes, the Bare Necessities and the Stone Cold Fox palette. Those are classics in my opinion. Those are 2 really beautiful eyeshadow palettes, but I don't have as many of these really huge palettes. It is hard to store them. I do kind of struggle with that, especially the Beauty Bay ones. I've kind of had to lay them down in my drawers a little bit, but you know, all in all. But with that, that's the end of the eyeshadow palette. So if you total all of that together, I have 126 eyeshadow palettes, which that's certainly not the largest because I've seen some huge eyeshadow palette collections, but that is definitely not the smallest. I don't know, eyeshadow palettes can get me. Like, right as I'm filming this, ColourPop just showed the next palette in the Twilight series, and I want it. I want it, but I mean, I think that's more so because those movies. I was a teenager, like the younger side of a teenager, like 13 or 14, when those books and all that in the movies come out and everything, and I don't know, I just always really enjoyed the books and the movies, so I like the, you know, I kind of want them more so for like collection. I'm going to use it, but then I also want it for collection because I have the first Twilight palette they released, which I do like that color story, and I like this color story and this new one as well because it definitely looks like a beautiful fall palette. I mean, I know it's being released right now, but it is a palette that you could definitely get some pretty fall looks out of. But eyeshadow can get me. Also, Simply Posh. That's another indie brand if you're not familiar with them. I've never tried their palettes before. They're releasing, or you can pre-order, their new like Snow Angel palette. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's so dainty. It's darling. See, eyeshadow palettes can get me. I cannot sit here and say that I'm going to be on a no buy for eyeshadow palettes because that would be a lie. Okay, my next category is eyeliners. Now, I only have 3 here. All 3 of them are from ColourPop. Eyeliner is another thing that I don't buy them. You know, the 3 that you're seeing in the picture, the only reason why I have those is because when I bought some holiday sets from ColourPop, they had little 5-pan palettes. The liner was included. I wouldn't have bought those eyeliners just so because I just don't wear eyeliner. It's not something I reach for. There's nothing wrong with eyeliner, and I know a lot of people love it, and a lot of people love to wear it. I just don't. If I'm going to wear eyeliner like on the lash line, it's going to more than likely just be a powder eyeshadow. I don't know. Eyeliners on me are wasted. So this is a category that I would definitely love to have down to 0, and I wouldn't purchase any of these. The only way I'd end up with one is if it came with a palette like these 3 did. I know that I did have one from Natasha Denona that it was a little mini. It come with her little, I think it was the Baby I Need a Nude kit that she released for the 2024 holiday season. I decluttered it. I kept these 3 from ColourPop because I do like that there's a black, a brown, and then the other one's like a burgundy kind of shade. I do like those colors, but I'm just not an eyeliner person. Alright, the next category is mascara. I have 8 here, including those that aren't open yet. Out of all of these, I think I have, okay, 4 of them, I'm looking at my little list here and not the photographs. So 4 of them are open, and then the other ones I haven't opened yet. But some of the ones that are open, eventually once they go out, I only wear mascara for up to 6 months because I just don't want to push it any further than that, especially since I wear contacts. I have very sensitive eyes and stuff, and I don't want to push it when it comes to mascara. Like a liquid like that around my eye. Some of those will be going out. Now, mascara is one of those things where I have my top favorites, but I also really love to use like points to get like sample sizes of mascara. That's the way I've tried a lot of mascaras in the past. Like on Sephora's app where you can go and do 100 points and get like a sample, a deluxe sample size or something. I do that a lot with mascara, and I don't really need to do that, but it's the way I kind of been testing out all kinds. So when you're seeing in the picture there, the one from Tarte, the Lights Camera Lashes one that's in the little pack, and the Hourglass Unlocked one, those two were both points rewards. So, but my favorites of all time are the Refi Lash Sculpt. That's my favorite mascara. I always want that one in my collection. The Tower 28 mascara, I have both the brown and the black. They're still in the box if you can see it right here in the picture. And the e.l.f. Lash and Roll Mascara. Those are my top favorite ones. And they're the ones that I kind of always want in my collection. So I don't really, I guess, actively go out to purchase other mascaras. But, I mean, you know, I do like to try new things because I don't wear false eyelashes anymore. So I definitely want a mascara to do kind of like the heavy lifting for me. Alright, the next thing I'm going to talk about is setting spray. The reason why I'm putting it here is because the way I wear setting spray, I always spray my sponge or my brush before I go in with foundation. So I'm going to put it here first before we get into the foundations. Now in the picture you can see, well, it's technically one setting spray, but I have 2 of them. That is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush, I think it's Flawless Setting Spray, I believe. That's the only one that I really care to have in my collection. The 2 you're seeing in the picture here are 2 minis, and I've already gone through one whole mini before. I love this setting spray. It does everything that I need it to do. It makes my products really melt beautifully into my skin. I've never had an issue with it. Now, I don't spray it at the end of my makeup routine, so I can't speak for it in that regard, but the way I like to apply it is, of course, like I said, spray my sponge or my brush, and then go in with my foundation or cream blush or whatever the case may be, and it works beautifully for that. It helps everything blend in nicely. It's really the only setting spray I need. Okay, foundations. I have 14 foundations. That's not so bad. I mean, I would like to get that number down a little bit because I feel like I definitely don't need that many foundations. I mean, I don't need any of this if we're being completely honest, but you know, there's specific categories that I favor over others. And honestly, out of these foundations, my favorites are definitely the Patrick Ta foundation. Oh, I love that foundation so much. I miss it. I miss it. I just want to wear it all the time. I love that foundation. It's everything that I ever need in a foundation. I also really love the Makeup by Mario one, the one from Say, About Face, and then I really love my Tower 28 Sunny Days. I've got an empty on one of those, and the one you're seeing in the picture is a repurchase of that one. I do really like that one. I mean, I have my top favorites. Some of the other ones I like, don't get me wrong. I have like my tip top favorites. So this is a category that I can't sit here and say I'm going to be on a no buy because there might be a foundation that comes out that I want to try, but it's not something that I really actively want to build. I'd rather get some of these down first. Alright, for next thing is correctors. I have 5 here. Now, the Smashbox and Becca one and the e.l.f. Cosmetics putty one. I have pan in both of those, and they are ones that I definitely want to continue working through and get out of my collection completely. Now, the one you're seeing from NYX in the picture, technically it's like a concealer, but they call it a correcting concealer stick, so I just put it in this category. I don't like the shade. The shade is just much too light for me. It's definitely that brightening kind of shade on me, and I'm just not into that. The formula itself is fine, but it's just, the shade is just not for me. Now, the 2 you see from Cali Ray, that's my all-time favorite corrector. Honestly, once I work through these other ones, the Cali Ray one is really the only one that I would care to have in my collection. I have the shades Pale Sun, which is the one you're seeing that's a little bit more yellow, and then I have Cool Sunrise, which is the more pinkish colored one. Both of them work beautifully. One thing I like better about the Pale Sun one over the Cool Sunrise is Pale Sun is kind of like my skin tone. It's one of those that I can wear on its own. I don't have to put another concealer over the top of it. It's a perfect shade for me. I think that corrector, it's perfect. That's really the only one that I need in my collection is the one from Cali Ray. I will say there's a new one that's come out from, is it Kosas? Is it Kosas? I think is launching a new corrector. I might have that wrong. I think it's Kosas. I want to try that one. I really do. But maybe not right now, but I would like to try it just because I do like a lot of Kosas products. Alright, the next thing we have is concealer. I have 11 concealers, which honestly for some reason I feel like I had more than that. I guess it's because where I store them, they're in like this little acrylic container and they look more piled up. So I have 11 of those, and honestly there again I have some that are like my absolute favorites. And there's some of these that I can go ahead and tell you I would not repurchase. Like, I wouldn't repurchase the Rare Beauty Brightener. I mean, it's fine. It's not a bad product. It just doesn't really do much for me. The one from Win Beauty, the only thing about that one is the shade's not right for me. I don't remember the formula being bad or anything, but that's probably not one I would repurchase. I wouldn't repurchase the Refi. Honestly, my favorites out of these are the one from Kosas, Fenty, the NYX Bear With Me, and the Tower 28 and the Natasha Denona High Glam is really good. I really do like the Tower 28 one. The shade isn't perfect. I would like to go one shade up with that one because it's a little bit too light for me, but the actual concealer I love. Okay, next up is powders. I just put all of my powders together. I didn't separate them by pressed or loose. I have 15 powders. This is kind of a category that for some reason I feel like I've just discovered. Well, in 2024, I feel like I kept adding powders for some weird reason that I don't understand. And then I found the joys of how to make pink powder work for me, because before, when I would try to wear pink powder, it just wouldn't work. I felt like it always left a cast on me. It would, I don't know. But then I tried the One Size Ultra Pink Loose Setting Powder. And the way I've been applying it is just applying it kind of like right in here, like under my eyes, meeting up with the blush and then like across the nose. And I love it. I'm wearing it like that today as well. And I love that because to me it looks like you have a little bit of pink flush all the way across the nose, which I love. I think that's the cutest thing ever. So now that I've finally figured out how to make a pink powder work for me, I did get that one. And then I bought the pressed powder from Tower 28 in their pink shade. I did have it in the translucent, which I love that pressed powder. That is a good powder. I bought it in the pink shade. Now, I will say, their pink shade, it's not too pink. So, I feel like the one from One Size is definitely pink. But that one from Tower 28, I feel like is a nice kind of, shade, like especially if you don't want something that's too pink but you want a little bit of that. I think that's a perfect one. That was my most recent powder purchase and I do like it, but I like that formula from Tower 28 for sure. Okay, the next category are face palettes, and I have 10. Now you're gonna see that all of them except for 2 are my Hourglass palettes. I view those as collector's items. Yes, I do use them. I do use them. I don't want that to sound like, I do use them. And what you're seeing in the picture here, I've left them in the box. I always keep mine and store them in their boxes because I don't want anything to happen to them. Everybody knows that Hourglass is a very expensive brand, and I just want to keep them in their boxes so they don't get messed up. Their face palettes, in my opinion, are worth the money if all the shades is something that you're going to use. And I will say that the reason why I have all the ones you're seeing, with the exception, of course, of the Evil Eye, I bought them for the animals. I love animals. That's just a given here. I love and adore animals so very much. And knowing that Hourglass also donates to like animal organizations and a lot of the proceeds from these palettes went to that, yeah, I bought them. I bought all of the animals and I hope they continue with the animals. I know this past year they did the eye, the dragon, and the flower. I did buy the one with the eye. I kind of wish I hadn't. It's a good palette, don't get me wrong, but I kind of wish I hadn't really bought that one because honestly, they need to go back to the animals. They need to go back to the animals. I just feel like that to me is what made those palettes. But I'm going to move forward, but if they continue making the animals, I will, if I can, purchase them. I like to kind of set aside a little budget for those because they are expensive palettes. They are. Okay, the next up is bronzers, and I have 18 bronzers. No buy. This is a no buy category for me right now. I like bronzer, but I don't like it as much as I do blush or something else, so I don't know why I would accumulate this many. This is a no-buy category for me. This is definitely something that I want to work towards and getting this number down. I'm not, I mean, bronzer is one of those things that it's going to take me a while to go through it. But I mean, I have favorites on this list for sure. You know, the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer, that one is amazing. The Fenty Beauty one is amazing, the powder one. The House Labs bronzer, which has now been discontinued, unfortunately. So those are pretty powder options. But then, of course, I love my Tower 28 one. The Makeup by Mario, the Soft Sculpt Bronzing Serum, I love that product. That is one of the most beautiful natural bronzers I've ever seen. So, I mean, there are some that are my top favorites, and then the rest of them, I need to be, like, using them up and getting them out of my collection, really, because I don't need this many bronzers. I mean, I just, you know, bronzer isn't really a thing for me. Okay, blushes. That's a huge category as well for me, and I'm going to divide this up by cream and liquid and then powder. So the cream and liquid blushes, I have 46. Yeah. Wait till I get to the powder blushes. But I divided these up because there was no way I could get all of these in one big picture. There was just no way. And I kind of like dividing it like this because then I feel like, well, you know, it's kind of easier to keep track of that way. And I'm also going to pull up the calculator here on my phone because I realized that I did not add the two categories together, so I can give you a final total at the end. Here we go. Okay, so the next one is powder blushes. I have 82. So that puts my total number of blushes to 128. That's my total for all of my powder and cream and liquid blushes. Now, I'm not counting individual blushes. I know some people that I've seen do these videos, they will open up like a blush palette or a blush trio, and they'll count the individual blushes. I didn't do that. I just, one palette, like a palette, like if there's 3 shades or 2 shades, I just count it as one. But I mean, you could go even further, of course, and itemize each one. I didn't do that because I felt like I have so many, just counting them as one, and you know. So next is highlighters. I have one. And honestly, that one should go. I don't like highlighter. There's nothing wrong with it per se. I just don't like it. I mean, I guess because I like other face products that are more glowy, like my Say Glowy Super Gel or, you know, some glowy blushes. I don't necessarily want another product in my collection that adds glow when I can get glow from so many of my other products. So I have one, and the only reason why I have that one in my collection is because it is like a pretty pink shade. I really like a pink highlighter, like a liquid highlighter, to add to pink blushes, but I mean, it's not necessary. Now, I did have one that I favored more. It was the Rare Beauty pink shade. I don't know what it was, Enchant maybe. I unfortunately had to declutter it because it was very old and it had started developing a smell. So I had to declutter that one, but this one from e.l.f. is a very similar shade to that one. It's not spot on, but it was very close, and that's the only reason why I kept it. But honestly, it really should go. I don't really wear it. So that might be one that, honestly, the next time I do an inventory video, that probably will be 0 because I just don't need that many. Okay, the next category is brows. I have 9. That's including pencils and gels all in one category. This is a category that I only want my Kosas Brow Pop Pencil, my Kosas Air Brow Gel for the high end, and then I would love to have a drugstore brow pencil and drugstore brow gel. So I can have the option, because there are some videos on my channel where I do like to do like an all drugstore look, and since Kosas is not drugstore, I'd like to have the option. More than likely I would purchase from e.l.f. because I just think e.l.f.'s a good solid brand. They have good products, and I probably would have one of their brow pencils and one of their gels. I know they have several different brow gels. This is just a category that I don't really care to add to. I want to use up all of these and just have my Kosas pencil and gel, and then have a drugstore option, and that's all I'd ever need in this category. So we're on a no-buy in this category right now until I can use up all of that. Alright, the next thing I have, I'm going to separate my lip products as well because it's just easier for me. Lip oils and lip balms. I'm going to put them in one whole category. I have 43 of those. I love me a good lip oil. I'm just going to say any kind of lip oil balm, like lip treatment kind of thing, I love those because during these really cold months, my lips can get really dry, and something like that, like putting on a lip liner and then putting something like that over the top, it just feels nice and comfortable, and I love it. Do I need that many? No. And not to mention, I just saw where Tower 28 has released a new shade of their lip softy. and I want it. Because why would I not? I love that brand, and I love pretty much everything they have. I mean, I'm just going to say I'm so biased when it comes to that brand. So biased. Okay, lip liners. I have 36 lip liners here, and my absolute favorites are the 6 from Tower 28. Honestly, they're the best ones. They're the best ones. I don't really need any of these other ones. They're the best ones, and I'm gonna die on that hill. But now I will say that I like a lot of these that you were seeing. I'm not saying that I don't like the rest of them. My Tower 28s are the end all. And you know what? I am so glad that Miss Billie Eilish said she uses the shade Work of Art. And I don't know if they're sold out now or not. I'm not sure, but I am so happy to see them get the love. They are good lip liners. Now, you can use them on your eyes and your cheeks. I've never used them that way. I don't know if they work like that. I don't know. I just like them as lip liners, so I can't speak for how they might work with that. But they are so good, and I was so happy to see Billie Eilish use one of them, and now they went viral. I know some people might say, well, why would you want that? Because now they might be selling out. But now, look, it's going to take me a while to go through mine, so I'll be okay. But I'm just happy they're getting the recognition because they're that good. But I like a lot of these. I mean, I'm not just saying they're the only ones. A lot of these are really good. The ones from e.l.f. are good, and they're like $2. The Rare Beauty ones are good. I'm wearing the Rare Beauty one here today. It's probably a little faded by now because I keep stopping to drink water, but it's the one called Worthy. Okay, liquid lipsticks. I have 5. This is a category that I never thought that I'd even have one. But honestly, to a degree, I like liquid lipsticks. I mean, they're not the most comfortable things in the world, but I don't know. I kind of like the way they look. My favorite out of the ones you're seeing here in this picture is from Give Beauty. It's in the shade Camo. Now, it is kind of like the concealer lips, but what I love to do is pair it up with a little bit of a deeper lip liner, like one of the ones from Tower 28, like they have 2 deeper shades, and pair it up with that. It is a beautiful lip combo. I really love that shade. I mean, yes, it's kind of like the concealer thing, but honestly, I've been kind of into that. Now, no, I didn't wear anything like that today, of course, but I've kind of been into that very pale concealer lip kind of vibe. I don't know where that come from, but I like it. But liquid lipsticks is something that I don't need to add anymore. 5 is good, and I don't even need 5. But now I will say that the ones from the Lip Bar, those are minis, so, maybe those are some that would go quicker, but the shades are very pigmented, so I don't really wear them that often. Okay, for lipsticks, like the regular bullet lipsticks, I have 33 of those. It's kind of a thing. I've developed a love for lip products as well lately. I used to only be blush and eyeshadow, but for lips, for some reason, I really just want lip product. And the pale nudes have just gotten me. Like, I've been going through like Ulta and Sephora and looking at all the pale nude lipsticks. I'm not saying I'm gonna buy any, but I'm just kind of seeing different shades out there. I know that Lawless has a lot of pale nude lipsticks, which one of my favorites from them is Wedding Day, and that's kind of a pale nude for me. I mean, I still think it's a beautiful shade. I love to wear it by itself. It doesn't need anything, but it is kind of a more pale nude. And the one I have from them called Baby, which that one's been discontinued, but that's another one that is a very pale nude from them. So they definitely have some options if you're more into that kind of vibe. But honestly, I mean, I don't know. Lip products have just kind of become a thing. Okay, lip glosses. I have 38 lip glosses. And in this category, I included all like plumpers and everything because honestly, a lot of those I do wear as gloss. Sometimes I wear them as lip prep, but a lot of times I'm just adding them over the top of a lip liner or a lipstick or whatever the case may be. So all the plumpers are in here as well. I didn't separate those by any means, but I have a lot from CoverGirl, like their line of the Clean Fresh Yummy Glosses, which is what I'm wearing here. Now, it's faded a little bit because I keep stopping to sip some water while I'm talking, but I love those. To me, that's one of the best lip glosses at the drugstore, in my opinion, are the ones from CoverGirl. And now they have a plumping line, which I think is permanent. I'm not sure. I know sometimes they'll do these little like collections of these yummy glosses and they'd be like limited edition or something, so I'm not sure about the plumper ones, but I have one of those too. That's just as good as well. But I mean, lip gloss is kind of like the lip balms and lip oils. They're just very comfortable. If you want to just do a lip liner and then one of them, which is what I did today, it's just comfortable, and I don't know. I just really, really love that kind of, just that category. But now, okay, I realized that so that is all for my collection. That's everything that we see. So now I know some people like to add up everything at the very end to find out just how much makeup they own. Like every single piece, what would that add up to? So I forgot to do that. Let me do that right quick and let's see just how much I own everything. What's my final total? Okay, if I've added everything correctly, which I believe I have, that's 554 products in total. Some categories I definitely like more than others, but I mean, you know what? It was kind of fun going through and just seeing just how much makeup I really own in certain categories, and it kind of really shows me like where my favorite, you know, the favorite types of makeup and everything, like what I like the most, which would definitely be like blush and eyeshadow palettes, and apparently lip glosses and lip oils and lip balms for, I mean, that kind of, the lip categories really are just as big as the eyeshadow palettes and the blushes. And I never thought that. I guess I just don't see it that way, but no, yeah, it's definitely that way. But do you do makeup inventories? If you do, let me know your numbers. What's your favorite category of makeup, or where do you have the most of? I mean, you don't have to tell me your numbers if you don't want to. That's your business if you don't want to tell it. But just tell me your favorite category of makeup, like what you love to buy the most. I would love to know. But thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads, and follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!